Hello, everyone. My name is Seth, and today I'm going to give you my review of The Flash. So, The Flash, directed by Andy Muschietti, starring Ezra Miller and Michael Keaton, has finally come out. I say finally because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this movie was announced sometime soon after the first episode of the Flash TV show starring Grant Gustin on the CW. And that show, just a few weeks ago, just finished up its last episode of its 9-season run. So this has been a long time coming. Like, it's taken a long time to get this movie made. There's been multiple sets of directors that have came and went. There's been multiple writers that have came and went. And it's been a long road to get this movie out, but it is finally here. But before I go any farther, go ahead and like this video, hit subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss a video. First, right at the beginning, I want to say I'm just going to be talking about the movie. I am not going to be talking about any of the drama or the legal stuff or anything. I'm just going to be talking about this particular movie. And I'll say overall, I liked it. It was a pretty good movie. It was a good time at the theater. Now, I wouldn't put it in like the upper level of DC movies. I know some people said, oh, it's one of the greatest comic book movies ever. I don't agree with that, but it is definitely a good movie. I think Andy Muschietti did a really good job directing this. I loved the It movies. He did a good job with this, and he was just confirmed a couple of days ago to be directing The Brave and the Bold for the new DC universe, and that's exciting. I think he did some good stuff with Batman in this movie, so I'm excited to see what his own kind of Batman would look like. This movie kind of starts off with an action sequence, and I thought as a whole, the action was well done and well shot. I was a little bit iffy though in this first action sequence, just with some of the Flash stuff. I guess some of the character and just kind of how he's being presented, but it got better as the movie went along. And one thing I will say about the opening action sequence is it's a little odd at first to see Batman in the broad daylight, but I got over that pretty quickly, and I thought it was pretty cool. I thought it was a really well constructed sequence, but I couldn't really get into some of the Flash stuff right there at the beginning. As the film went on, it almost seemed like the action and the humor, everything just kind of started to find their groove. It's almost like as they were writing the script, they kind of settled in a little bit. And I'll say in particular, the action sequences in the second act and in the third act, I think were really well done. I think the one in the second act stands out to me the most. It's one of the more Batman-centric elements of this story, and I thought it was really cool. In this story, they did something a little bit unexpected for me, and I thought it worked really well. I won't tell you what it is. No spoilers in this one. And I think it put Barry in a very interesting and unique and different kind of position. And so I really appreciated that story choice. Going along with some of the story, I will say that the third act maybe got a little bit messy. Just a little bit of a ton going on. And once they kind of get to a certain point in the third act, I found it a little bit predictable. Even though, like I said, there's a ton going on, I still found like the main kind of thread was a little bit predictable. And I would say kind of the whole wrapping up of the conflict, I think it was a little bit abrupt. It happened really fast. Like there was this reveal and it just kind of wrapped up real quick. And so I feel like there's a little bit of pacing issues there. And one thing, I think maybe it's missing a clear antagonist in the story. I feel like maybe that would just might help add just a little bit. But there was some really good emotion in this story, especially between Barry and his mom and that whole situation. You know, this is kind of based on Flashpoint. A lot of people know the story about Flashpoint, him going back and trying to save his mom. And there was some really, really good emotion with that. I think I heard somebody in the theater behind me kind of try to quietly cry back there. And I mean, I get it. It was really well done. And I'm a little bit biased because things in movies now, especially between like sons and mothers, that kind of gets me. You know, I lost my mom a few years ago, and so I kind of had to hold back a tear on that one a little bit. And I will say, throughout the story, most of the humor worked. I feel like at the very beginning, it didn't quite work for me, but as the movie went along, I kind of feel like the humor started to hit a little bit more often. So I would say most of the humor worked, but not all of it did for me. Like I mentioned, with some of the emotional moments, Ezra Miller did a really good job, and that was a really good job with kind of a dual performance. I like how our Barry was able to grow throughout the course of the movie. You know, when we first meet him, especially in Justice League, he's kind of this young, inexperienced, maybe just a little bit of annoying type of character. And I think maybe he starts this movie a little bit like that. But I think it was a very smart move to pair him up with a younger version and more annoying version of himself. And it puts him in a situation where he has to be a leader. He has to be more in control. He has to be more of a teacher. He has to be more mature. And I think he really starts to learn like really what it means to be a hero. And I think that's a really good arc for this character. And Ezra did a good job portraying that. One thing about young Barry, I will say, is that to me, especially in the beginning when we first meet him, I find him pretty annoying. And I understand he's supposed to be annoying, but I don't want to be annoyed by him, if that makes sense. I want to understand in the world, oh yeah, this guy's annoying, but I don't personally want to be annoyed by the character and what he's doing on screen. So I think that's one of the things I think they didn't quite balance correctly. I loved seeing both Ben Affleck and Michael Keaton. They both did a good job. First, I want to say with Ben Affleck, I wish we could see his Batman movie. Just in a little bit he's in this. It's just so cool. I really like this version of Batman. And I think Ben Affleck does a great job in the time he has. And Michael Keaton is awesome in this. I loved getting to see him again as Batman. It was just really cool. They lean into the nostalgia of it quite a bit, but I think it works. And Michael Keaton's just really good. He's a really good actor. And so he really slips right back into Batman, almost like never missing a beat. And that's just a highlight of this movie for me. Sasha Calle as Supergirl, I thought she was good. I thought she was a good alternate world version of Supergirl. And she wasn't asked to do a whole lot with her performance, but I think what she was asked to do, she did very, very well. And in this movie, there's a lot of surprises. There's a lot of cameos. And I think that's a fun time. I don't think any of it takes away from the story as a whole. It makes sense. I would say. It makes sense in the story that they're telling. And one big negative I'm going to bring up, and I'm sure you've heard some people bring up if you watch some other reviews, the CGI on a lot of things in this film was honestly pretty bad. There was just a few times seeing it that it kind of took me out of the movie. I will say there's a few times it kind of reminded me of like the CGI on the TV show, the CW Flash. And that's not necessarily a compliment. It was just weird and a lot of times bad. Now, I'm not saying everything that CGI in this is bad, because there's some good shots, there's some good CGI. But if you go and see this, just know that there's a lot of bad CGI. And the director, he has made a comment saying that if it seems weird or seems off to you, that's because it's supposed to be. Now, I don't know how much of that is actually true. I had a professor in college tell me that if there's a mistake, just don't worry about it. Say it was intentional. And so maybe that's just what he's doing here. But there's definitely plenty of CGI that just wasn't up to par, I would say. Like, for example, there's a few times when you see both Barrys in the frame, you can tell that they did a face replacement. Instead of shooting the scene again and having Ezra do the other role, they just had voiceover and face replacement. There were a few of those times where I thought that was pretty obvious. I think if I were to give this a score, I would give it a 3.5 out of 5. Overall, I still had a good time. I think it was a good time at the theater, and I think it was a good movie. I had fun, and honestly, I would recommend going to see it. Shouldn't have too much of a problem finding seats, because unfortunately, it's not really tracking well right now at the box office, but I would definitely recommend seeing it. I think there's some good emotion, some good character growth, and some good action, for the most part, and it has an interesting story. So that's it. That's my review of The Flash. What did you think about it? Let me know in the comment section down below. Did you like it? Did you not like it? What did you think about it? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. If you are interested in kind of a spoiler discussion, also let me know that in the comment section below. Adding a spoiler section to this might have made the video a little bit too long, so if you're interested in that, let me know in the comment section down below as well. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Follow me on social media at CinemaSeth, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, wherever you can think. You can go ahead and like this video, hit subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss another video. And I'll see you next time.